In this video, I will be explaining how to do the 13th problem from the 2019 5th grade math STAAR. So first, let's just read the problem. Dion ran 3.75 kilometers each day to prepare for a race. What was the number of kilometers that Dion ran during 28 days? So now let's go back and highlight what the problem is really asking and the important things from the problem. So it's important to know that he ran 3.75 kilometers each day. And the problem is asking for the number of kilometers that he ran during 28 days. Okay, so what's happening is that on the first day, Dion runs 3.75 kilometers. Now the next day, he runs another 3.75 kilometers. And the next day, he runs another 3.75 kilometers. And this continues for 28 days. So we need to know the total number of kilometers that he ran. Now this is pretty much this repeated addition, which we can look at a simpler example. Like, let's take this scenario. You eat 2 cookies every day for 5 days. How many cookies did you eat during those 5 days? So for that, what we would do is we would add 2 cookies from the first day, 2 more from the second day, 2 more from the third day, 2 more from the fourth day, and 2 more from the fifth day. And this would total to 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 cookies. Now, another way that we can write this is by saying you're eating 2 cookies each day, and you're doing this 5 times. So you're multiplying the 2 by 5, which is saying you have 2 5 times. And this would also get you to the same answer of 10. So that's what we can use to solve this problem. So instead of doing 3.75 plus 3.75 over and over and over, instead of doing that 28 times, which would take forever to add every single one, we can just write this as 3.75 to 7 28 times. So what we're doing is we're running 3.75 kilometers 28 times. So now let's multiply these. For now, we're just going to do it as 375 times 28. We're just going to forget about the decimal point for now, and we will come back to it. So now we just have to do regular multiplication. So 5 times 8 is 40. So we write down the 0, as we can only write one digit for each one, and we regroup the 4. So keep in mind, we're first just multiplying everything by 8. So that's what we're doing. So we multiplied the 5 by 8, and we got 40. So we wrote the 0, and we regrouped the 4. So now let's multiply the 7, or 70, by the 8. So that's 7 times 8, 56, plus 4. So that's 60. So again, we write down one decimal place, which is the 0. And then we regroup the 6. So now we have 3 times 8, which is 24. And now for the 24, we add the 6, so we have 30. And because this is the last thing we're multiplying by 8, we can write 30 as it is, because there's nothing else left to regroup it to. So now we're going to multiply 375 by 20, not just 2, 20. So we have to write down an extra decimal place here to represent the 0 of 20. And now we multiply 2 by all of these. So we do 2 times 5, which is 10. So we write down the 0, regroup the 1. 7 times 2, 14. So, and then we add the 1, so 15. So we write down the 5, regroup the 1. Then we do 3 times 2, which is 6. Then we add the 1, so 7. And we write it down. And that's all we have to do because there's no more decimal places there. So now we just have to add these up, and we have 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 5 is 5, and 3 plus 7 is 10. And you can write down the 10 because there's nothing left to regroup it to. But if you look at answer choices, this is 10,500, but there's no 10,500 kilometers. And that's because we have to remember about the decimal point that we have to bring in. Don't forget about the decimal point. That's what they're trying to trick you with here by having both of these which have the exact same numbers but with a different decimal point. And same here. They have very different decimal points, but they're the same numbers. So this number here, the 3.75, it has two decimal places, the 7 and the 5. So that's 2. And then this 28, it has no decimal places. It's all just whole numbers. So we have 0. So 2 plus 0 is 2. And this means we're going to have we need two decimal places in this final answer. So this is one decimal place, and these two are 2. So we're just going to insert a decimal point there, which would be 105. And the 0.00 doesn't matter as 0 doesn't really have any value. So 105.00 is the same as 105, which if you look at the answer choices, it isn't 10.5, it isn't 1875, and it isn't 18.75. So now we know that our final answer is 105 kilometers. So important things to remember for a problem like this is to not forget the decimal point. I think that's an issue that catches many people off guard, but always remember after doing all the multiplication that you need to bring the decimal point back in the problem, or there's a high chance of you getting the problem wrong. So what this answer means is that if Dion ran 3.75 kilometers each day to prepare for a race, he would run 105 kilometers in 28 days.